Okay, ready for deep dive. Today we're talking about breaking free. No, not from like actual prison,
Yeah.
from the mental ones we make for ourselves. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
We're diving into Dr. Edith Eger's book, The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life.
Powerful book. Really powerful.
It is.
And I mean, Dr. Eger's story, talk about incredible. She survived the Holocaust, went on to become this amazing psychologist.
Right, talk about resilience.
Seriously, turning Auschwitz into like wisdom, that's something else.
It's like her story is hers, obviously. But the things she talks about, those mental prisons, that's universal. Everyone's got
Oh,
that.
absolutely. And she doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. Like, she starts right in the thick of it. 16 years old, Auschwitz, forced to dance for Mengele, the angel of death.
I get chills just picturing it. Talk about a defining moment.
Right, and that's where she hits you with this truth. No matter how bad things get, we've always got a choice in how we react.
Is it? I mean, that's huge.
It is. Doesn't make the suffering any less real, but it's a reminder that we always have some power.
Okay, so we've got Auschwitz, the ultimate external prison.
Yeah.
But then she takes it a step further, right? She starts talking about the prisons we build ourselves, like with victimhood.
And this is where things get really interesting, I think. She uses this example, right? Two women. One's dealing with her kid being really sick. The other, she's upset because she got the wrong color car. Seems totally different, right?
No comparison, really. But what Dr. Eger's saying is that the woman with the car, it's not really about the car. It's something deeper. She's using that as a stand-in for other pain.
100%. It's not about minimizing anyone's struggles. It's more about seeing if we get stuck in that why me place and how that stops us from asking, okay, what now?
Which brings us to our next mental prison, avoidance. And even Dr. Eger admits she struggled with this. She hid her Holocaust experience from her own kids for years. Makes you think, what are WE so scared to face?
It's a question we should all ask ourselves. She talks about how, even as kids, we're taught to bottle things up, big boys don't cry, all that.
Right, just stuff it down.
Exactly. We learn to deny our feelings instead of, dealing with them.
But it's like, they don't just go away, do they, those feelings?
Boop. They fester, become these little monsters in our minds, messing us up without us even realizing it.
It's like Dr. Eger's giving us a flashlight saying, let's go see what's really going on up there in your head.
Exactly. And you know what we usually find?
What's that?
Those suitcases.
Ugh.
Full of guilt and shame.
Oh, those. Ugh. Don't you hate when your baggage exceeds the limit?
Yeah.
But she's right, it weighs you down. That feeling of never being good enough, always messing up. The worst.
And this is where self-compassion comes in. Dr. Eger's big on that.
Huh.
Unpack those bags, she says. Look at the messages you're carrying around. Are they even true? Where'd they come from?
It's like that saying, don't believe everything you think.
Right.
Our thoughts can lie to us. Especially those super critical ones.
Totally. And sometimes those thoughts, they come from unresolved grief. And what's interesting, Dr. Eger says grief isn't always about what happened. It's about what didn't happen, too.
She talks about that orange dress, right?
Yes. The silk one, stolen before they were taken to Auschwitz, never got to wear it to a dance.
It's such a small thing, really. But it makes you think about all those what-ifs, those missed chances, the grief we carry for things that never were.
It's like she's saying, mourn it, it's okay, but don't let it define you.
Love that. The past is a prologue, not a life sentence. But even when we deal with those big emotions, there's another prison lurking.
You're talking about rigidity.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
The need to control everything, keep it all the same, even when it's not working.
Right.
And Dr. Eger, well, she gets right to the point. She says, when a couple says they never fight, I say, then you don't have intimacy either.
I love that. So good.
Right, like disagreeing, maybe that's a sign you're actually showing up, being real in the relationship.
Exactly. It's not always black and white, Life's messy. Embrace the gray areas. That's where the good stuff is.
And speaking of relationships.
More prisons.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we build them right alongside the people we love.
Yeah.
And resentment, that's a biggie.
It really is. And she's honest about it, even talks about her own marriage, how it fell apart. But here's the thing. She doesn't blame her ex. She asks this powerful question. Would you want to be married to you?
Oof, that's a gut punch. It's so easy to blame our partners, but she's making us look at our own role in it all.
And that's where the real work begins, right?
So we've covered a lot of ground already. Victimhood, avoidance, that guilt trip we take ourselves on, even how resentment can build prisons between people. But Dr. Eger, she doesn't stop there. She goes into something, well, it's universal, something that can be totally rational, but also, like, freeze you in your tracks.
Fear, right.
Exactly. And she doesn't shy away from her own experiences.
Yeah.
She talks about this terrifying home invasion she went through.
It really makes you think, even someone who lived through Auschwitz, who faced down pure evil, fear still gets to them. We're all human, right?
Totally. It's like she's saying, hey, I get it. This stuff's scary. We're in this together. But she doesn't leave us hanging, cowering under the bed. She breaks fear down into these two categories, distress and stress. And, well, this is where her psychology background really comes in handy.
Yeah, she makes a clear distinction. So distress, that's that primal fear. It's telling you there's real danger, you need to act, and now W.
Right, like there's a bear chasing me kind of fear.
Exactly. Or, I don't know, someone's breaking into your house. Serious stuff.
Okay, so that's distress, run for your life. But then there's stress.
Which is a whole different animal, according to Dr. Eger.
Right. So what is it exactly? How'd she explain it?
Well, she sees it as those times when we're pushed out of our comfort zone. It's challenging, maybe a little uncomfortable, but it's how we grow. She even says, and I might be paraphrasing a bit here, that if we're not feeling some level of stress, we're probably not really living.
So it's like, don't run from those butterflies in your stomach completely.
Not necessarily. Learn to listen to them. Figure out, are they a 5-alarm fire or just a little nudge to try something new?
Makes sense. Okay, so we're navigating fear, trying to grow. But then there's this other prison, and it can really sabotage our progress. Judgment.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just like, ugh, that song is terrible. Dr. Eger takes it way deeper. She even calls it the Nazi within.
Yeah, that one kind of makes you stop and think. I remember when I first read that, I was like, whoa, okay, intense much. But then it clicked.
Right. It's like she's shaking us awake, saying, hey, look inside. We all have that potential for darkness.
100%. It's not about saying it's okay to do terrible things. It's about acknowledging that capacity within ourselves. And that's where she says self-compassion is so important. She tells this really moving story about a man, Andreas. He finds out his grandfather was a high-ranking Nazi official.
Oh, man. Talk about a family secret. The guilt, the betrayal. How do you even process that?
Exactly. And it makes you think about how complex judgment really is on a personal level, but also like as a society. We see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Trying to reconcile with those dark parts of our history.
So how do we even begin to deal with that? There's so much negativity in the world, so much division. It's overwhelming.
Dr. Eger, she says it starts with ourselves. Recognizing that we're all flawed, we're capable of great things and terrible things. We have to hold both those truths. And from there, from that place of honesty, we can start extending grace to others.
That's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind.
Right, we have no idea what people are carrying. So yeah, little kindness goes a long way.
It really does. But it's easy to get bogged down by it all. The weight of the world, our own struggles. It can lead to this feeling of, well, hopelessness.
And Dr. Eger, she's got a metaphor for that.
Of course she does. I'm ready. Hit me with it.
She says trying to cover up despair with fake positivity is like covering garlic with chocolate.
Okay, first of all, ew. Second of all, that is brilliant because it's so true. Pretending everything's fine doesn't actually make it fine.
Exactly. If anything, it just stops us from dealing with the garlicness of it all.
So what's the alternative? How do we escape that hopelessness trap without, forcing a smile and pretending everything's sunshine and rainbows?
For Dr. Eger, it's not about ignoring the tough stuff. It's about choosing to believe in something better, even when things are rough. It's acknowledging that life is messy, it's hard, but there's also joy, connection, even transcendence mixed in there.
Speaking of transcendence, I think it's time we talk about maybe her most challenging lesson. Forgiveness. And this one, it gets misunderstood a lot.
For sure. People hear forgiveness and they think it's about letting the other person off the hook, saying what they did was okay. But Dr. Eger says that's not it at all.
Right. It's not about them. It's about us. About letting go of the pain, the anger that's eating us up inside.
And she illustrates this beautifully, actually, with how she reacted to that home invasion. She talks about feeling this wave of rage, just pure anger at what happened. And she says, there's no forgiveness without rage.
Wow. That's powerful. So it's like you have to let yourself feel it all, the anger, the hurt, everything?
Yes, because that rage, it's part of acknowledging the wrong that was done. It's only after we really feel it, express it, that we can start to let go.
So it's not passive. It's not saying, oh, never mind, it's fine. Forgiveness, the way Dr. Eger describes it, it's this active process of confronting your pain, your anger, and choosing to move forward without being chained to the past.
Exactly. And that choice, that's where the real power lies.
You know, it's one thing to talk about forgiveness. Like, conceptually, we get it, right?
Right.
But to actually do it,
Yeah.
to live it, that's a whole other level.
Yeah.
And Dr. Eger, well, she doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk. She tells this amazing story about a trip to Amsterdam with her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And it really brings everything together. So picture this. Dr. Eger, a Holocaust survivor.
Right.
She's standing in the Anne Frank house.
Wow. Talk about a moment.
The weight of those two stories colliding in that one place, it's almost too much to handle.
It really is.
But it gets even, I don't know, more powerful. Remember how she talked about being forced to dance for Mengele?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget?
It's haunting. But here's the thing. Egon de Jong, she's this incredible ballerina, prima ballerina of the Dutch National Ballet.
Okay.
She heard Dr. Eger's story. And she was so moved by it, she choreographed a whole ballet inspired by Dr. Eger.
Wow.
I know, to take that experience, something so awful, so dehumanizing, and turn it into art, into beauty.
Incredible.
And for Dr. Eger, watching that ballet, it was like reclaiming that moment, taking back her power, her story. She writes about feeling this incredible sense of like liberation, innocence, freedom.
It gives me chills just hearing you say that.
It's powerful stuff. It's like she's saying, yeah, that horrible thing happened, but it doesn't define me. I choose to find the beauty, the hope, even in the darkness.
And that's really the heart of it all, isn't it? What Dr. Eger's trying to teach us. We have that power. Even after going through hell, we can choose how we move through the world.
We can choose freedom. It's not easy, that's for sure. It takes guts, it takes looking inward. A whole lot of grace. But she shows us it's possible. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the gift, I want to hear from you. What's stuck with you? What mental prisons are you ready to break free from? What's one small, brave thing you can do today to start moving towards that freedom? It's a journey, not a finish line, right? And sometimes the bravest thing is just taking that first step. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep those questions coming, and keep choosing freedom.